But in general, for the planet, what I'm about to give you is controversial. Spectacular because of its truth. True, very true. And what I'm going to tell you, and then speak of it even more in detail, is this. Dear ones, your souls that are eternal, that had no beginning, they just simply always were, difficult for you to understand, and will always be, these are your souls. That's you. That's your essence. That soul of yours plays many roles on this planet. In other words, you reincarnate. Spectacular because it's the plan that helps to advance this planet with a consciousness that you have free choice to use. That is the engine of conscious advancement. Because your soul comes back as one who has been here and done this and has a chance then to advance past that because it lays into your Akash. Like a school would be to advance the grades lifetime after lifetime. You retain what happened last time and work it out the next time. Some call it karma. It's more than that, dear ones. It's actually not that. The system of past lives gives you the ability to go through this school of earth and learn and advance, but more than that, to come closer to a truth that we have already given you, a basic truth that you are part of God, a basic truth that says that the entire plan is about elevating this consciousness of this planet to mastery. That's the engine. It has to be. If everyone simply came one time, you'd all still be in kindergarten. Now, some have said you still are. In that, I tell you, the cycles of time, some of them being very slow, would actually cooperate with that, for you have cycles of change that sometimes then cooperate to push you into a higher consciousness if you're ready. And one just did. And that's the 2012 shift. That's the reason for Kryon to even be here. Most of your planetary modern religions do not believe in reincarnation. In fact, if you talk to someone who is in one of those belief systems, they'll look at you like you're nuts. Can't be that way. They'll say, if it was that way, how could the doctrine that we believe actually work? Because you're born, you're tested, and then you're either punished or rewarded. That's one time. I will tell you something, dear ones. That is not a God system. That's not a creator system. That's a men's system. You come in. You have to be naughty or nice. Sounds like Santa Claus. And you either get a present or you get tortured. We told you in channel number 1 of the series how illogical and dysfunctional that system is, totally. It's not a loving system. Think about it. It's not from God. The system that is beautiful has you coming and returning. The first organized religion on this planet, in your time frame, that you can call something that belongs to your civilization, is Hinduism. And in that, the staple of Hinduism is reincarnation. This is just to give you a sample of this answer to a question: what was the first intuitive thoughts of humans back then, without a doctrine to think about, without rules? What did they come up with that they could grasp and work with together? And the system was love, compassion, and included past lives. Subsequent to that, there have been others also that include past lives. On the planet right now, there are billions who still believe that reincarnation is not just a possibility, but is the way it works. But I am talking to a culture and those cultures around this culture that often do not believe it. Spectacular it is because this truth is actually the kernel, the seed, the engine, as I said, to an advanced planet, to coming back. Some have said, well, what about the indigenous? I don't hear much about past lives of the indigenous. They do it differently, dear one. Listen to them talking about their ancestors. Why would they go to so much trouble to capture the wisdom of their ancestors, to pray to their ancestors, to go there almost every single time they go into any kind of a meditation or ceremony? And the answer is this: because they understand that they are their own ancestors. That part of that wisdom is translated through the earth, the dirt of the earth, right back to them. This is their form of understanding the cycle. Ask the indigenous about the cycles. They'll give you the same information I have. There is a grander plan, dear ones, and it all is part of coming back. There are so many things that I could give you, so many examples of the beauty of a returning human. In all of these things, I want you to know this. You, your soul, could hardly wait to get here. I will tell you something else, controversial to the max. You chose your parents. We have said this before, that there are so many of you right now going, you got that one wrong, Kryon. Others may have chosen their parents. I would never have chosen those. You did. You chose them for numbers of reasons. You didn't choose them so that you would have a test or you would have a troubling life. You chose them because you might be their teacher, old soul that you are. There are many old souls who choose young soul parents, so that those parents might learn from you. And you might say, well, I'm not really sure my parents learned anything from me. You don't know what you don't know. Things go in and they settle. Souls learn differently than humans learn. There are systems afoot. Your consciousness of what you believe affects others in ways you don't even think they do. All part of this plan. My partner, he asked and answered a question. Both asking and answering, why do some have to die early? The answer is they don't have to. But they had an agreement. And if you look at it this way, that before they ever came in, the agreement was this, that if they achieve a high consciousness to that state at which they can, that some of them said, I'm going to leave early and come back and continue right away so this planet has a chance. A population of the future with wisdom. And so no matter what you do for them, it doesn't help. And as you stand perhaps at the ceremony in their memorial, with tears running down your face, there's still some wise ones among you that say, thank you for the plan, for they will affect this planet and I'm going to be there because I'm coming back too. Spectacular, true, beautiful. And that's who you are. Now you know why. I am in so much love with humanity for what you do for each other, for the universe, for this beautiful earth. Truly spectacular. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner steps aside, and all that he is remains as a human. The best kinds of channeling that require human language must come through the human. There are all manner of kinds of channeling. As we've told you before, there's the art, the music, the sculpture, and more. But instructions and language comes through humans. It has to. It has to. And that is in honor of humanity. It is in honor of the way the process works, the God inside. Instructions from a human means more to you than you know. If it came from a rock or a tree, it would be miraculous a tendency then to worship the rock or the tree. Someone would object. They'd move the rock and cut the tree down. When it comes through a human, there would be those who might disagree. But then there would be those who would discern and know. Because the human has a built-in attribute, God inside. So it's less of a stretch of the imagination to think, perhaps, that the human being could reach out and bring in the divinity. Tonight, I want you to feel it. The discernment that you would have is important to us. We want you to know it's real. If you have a situation where a human says they are channeling, you take notes and go home and behave differently. That is not what we're asking for. We want it to resound in you as beautiful and truthful. We want you to know that this particular message is one that would never hurt you or ask you to do anything inappropriate, would love you as a mother and a father loves their offspring. We are not parents to you. We are family. But we are loving family, and the benevolence of the messages should be clear. There is great honor with your courage. You move from an old to a new energy, and within that there is so much promise. For the very paradigm of humanism, cellular structure, consciousness, has such a potential for improvement. And the part that makes us so pleased is that now we can start teaching you something very, very special. How you are changing. The human race is about to shift into a wiser kind of energy. But wisdom takes many forms. It is not necessarily just in your consciousness. Let me present something that we broached last night in a smaller meeting, and that we have been talking all around for many years. Your body, your cellular structure, even that which you would call your intellect, your thinking, all of that is somewhat restricted. It's restricted by the fact that the body engine, which you would call DNA, is only working at about 1/3 of the efficiency that it's possible to work at. The body engine is designed in a way that you would have vastly longer lifespans than you currently do. The DNA that you have, the intellect which you could have, the connection to the other side of the veil which you could have, depends upon an efficiency that is greater than you have. And that is what you are broaching. You are moving into a greater efficiency. Don't look at numbers, that you would have a certain percentage here or there. We give you these things to make it clear to you. But when you deal with multidimensional energies, you cannot use linear terms. The evolution of the human being, all of you, not just old souls, is going to target itself in the efficiency of your DNA. The old souls will be the first ones to see it and use it. That means you, as the teachers, will then teach it to the others who are not able to see it and use it as easily as you are. Therefore, the old souls, not an elite group, are simply the older group. The ones who have a greater understanding and wisdom now on what to do with it. You can see it. The younger ones, and I speak now of younger souls, the ones on the planet who have not had the lifetime experience you have, the younger souls will see that you have something that they don't. Some of them will reject you because of that, and others will want to have what you have. More and more will see the older souls, the wisdom, the improvements, and want them. Eventually, your task will be to bring them online with what you know. Dear ones, I want to weep with that statement alone. Finally, a world where civilization begins to grow up, where there becomes a demarcation with the elders based upon the number of lifetimes you live instead of the years that you've been on the earth. Old soul elders can be 20 years old. And there will be those at their feet because you see their wisdom, not the wrinkles on their face. Where the discernment will come from a whole different place in your brain than it does now. And you will know who they are. So some will be elders on the planet, some will be young people on the planet, and there will be no generation gap between them when they have a simultaneous, synchronized wisdom. One of the things that I want to tell you about tonight that is such a difference in the evolution of humanity will be what is going to happen with your bodies. I want to review with you for a moment what a body is like operating at approximately a third of its potential. In your life right now, so many things are what we would say an issue within you. It's almost like your body does things to you. It doesn't. It does things apart from you because you do not have a bridge between your conscious thought and your cellular structure's actions. In the physical, you'll catch diseases. You won't know about it. There'll be all manner of things that you fight all your life called health. What is good for you? What is not good for you? Are you eating things that have been genetically altered? What will that do? How will it affect you? all of those things will correct themselves, dear ones, with a body that starts to evolve so that it knows consciously and cellularly what's going on. You will have discernment of food. You walk into the store, you'll feel its vibration and reject it or accept it. Do you have any idea what this will do to the manufacturer's sales? When human beings simply stop buying things because their intuition says don't buy them, that will have an effect, a very 3D effect. This ripples all the way through the manufacturing energy, attributes, plans. Just imagine. That's human evolution. What about the other things we have told you about that are inefficient in your body? You cannot control them or affect them. You just have to deal with them. That is going to start to change. We have told you that your intuition is going to sharpen. You will start to see the connections between brain, heart, and intuitive sense. You'll start realizing the system of the body is so much larger than science has told you. This is not the fault of science. Science does its best to give you the best it can in knowledge of how things work biologically. Doctors and nurses, trained in the very best that they know. But dear ones, what I'm telling you is that they don't know what they don't know, and it's not their fault. As human beings begin to advance and develop, the things that they will have first is the wisdom that you would continue to really conceive as consciousness change, ascension processing. I want to get ready for you to understand the cells of the body are going to start changing. Last night we told you about cellular awareness. It is all part of this. But there's one big one we haven't told you about. Some of you are bothered by something you cannot control. It's beautiful, old soul, that you have an Akash that remembers. But when you have a body working at 33%, you cannot control what it gives you. And sometimes what it gives you is past life trauma. Where was the last time you were killed, and how did it affect you this time? No control. You go to sleep, you'll have dreams. Sometimes they're exceptionally disturbing. They may be recurring. You want to know where they're coming from. It's the energy from the Akash. It's the last lifetime or the one before, a short lifetime where something happened. It stays with you. It sticks with you. You can't control it. You'll go to a past life reader whose gifts are there on purpose for a reason to help humanity. And if the past life reader is one who has a gift which is accurate, they'll be able to help you to see it and dismiss it. You will then be able to rewrite what happened in the past. Some of the best healing methods of this planet, we told you a week ago, are not chemical-based. No longer. They're energy-based. And the energy we speak of mostly is the energy of knowledge, wisdom, and consciousness. When you can discover something and know something, you can correct it, you can reprogram it. This day you learned about tapping, you learned about decoding a little, you learned literally about body talk. You talk to your cellular structure, it helps you by talking back, you learn things, you heal yourselves, and on you go. Some of you are distressed because you know the truth and you can't get to it. You know about how you can change that which is in you, which you want to change, but you just can't get to it. If that's you here today, I'll tell you that's why you're here today, because I have news for you. You came at the right time, at the right place. I'll give you a promise. You are getting to it because you ask for it, because this energy will support that. Stop fighting it. Stop trying to figure it out and say an affirmation. Dear God, thank you for the connection you gave me today, for it's going to be different from now on. I'm in control. That's your evolution. The fact that you are asking for it generates an energy of solution. The very acknowledgement of the knowledge that you can do it creates an action. Body awareness. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to do it. You just have to acknowledge that it's there. Pause with me for a moment, even before I give you some news I've never given you before, and celebrate the power of the old soul, the beauty of synchronicity that would put you in a group like this to listen to a family member give you a fireside talk about the good news. No matter what is before you on the planet socially, no matter what your news says, everything starts with you. It doesn't start from the big to the little. It starts from the little to the big. One at a time, the human beings will change. The result will be grander wisdom, acceptance or non-acceptance of foods, policies, attitudes, everything. And as it starts to happen worldwide, and it will, eventually, you'll turn on the news, and it won't be what it is today. You're impatient. I tell you new energy is coming, you're turning on the news and say, I don't see it. Not understanding, you guide it by what you do today, not what your television set does. Your changes today will affect others tomorrow. That will affect others tomorrow, and another tomorrow. The planet changes slowly. Sociologists will tell you there have only been 4 changes since humanity began in what you do. That's how slow it is to them. And they study human behavior in groups. Do not take this message as saying it's going to take a long, long time. There is an acceleration of change. That's part of what your recalibration is. Back to the Akash. What have you been through? Old soul, I will tell you a truth. What have you been through? Everything. You name it, and you've been through it. Anything. Because the human experience includes so many things, especially in an old energy, where you did not have some of the comforts today you have, of health, of curing, of understanding, of knowledge, of knowing. Now, we told you in the past that human beings tend to reincarnate in what is called Akashic groups. You used to call them karmic groups. We're dismissing karmic energy. The old soul doesn't need it anymore. We'll call it Akashic groups. You tend to reincarnate in the same places and in the same families for a certain amount of time, and then you may move on. What causes you to live in a small town in Canada? Now, not all of you do, and I know who's here. I'm speaking to the locals. Why? How many of you feel you were pioneers here? Go back even further. How many of you worked the land as the ancients here? And if you were one of those, I would like to remind you something I said last night. How many children did you lose? As common things that the pioneers had. What was your reaction to it? Does it appear, old soul, in your dreams? You see, the old soul is beginning to awaken and become more sensitive. And here's the good news for you. We know about this. The body knows about this. You are broaching a multidimensional barrier of wisdom acknowledgement. The body is becoming smarter, and in the process, it's going to give you greater mental health. And the way it's going to do it is by giving you the power, not automatically, the power to choose a new word, Akashic filtering. You can control the Akash that comes to you. Now, what does it mean? If you have an inappropriate remembrance that is affecting your life, all you have to do is acknowledge it with your body and say, we do not wish to have that remembrance, for it is affecting us in this lifetime. Your body, your innate, your cellular structure, all is you. It's not another entity. Your Akash is not somewhere else, somebody else pushing a button for you. But at 30% or 33%, it feels like it, doesn't it? You can't control your dreams. You can't control the energies. Some of the habits you have are coming from your past life. Some of the things that you are reacting to today is because you have unfinished business in the past. None of that is appropriate for an old soul who is advancing in wisdom. You don't need to be bothered anymore. That's good news. Do you see what I'm saying? You have control, and the beginning of it, over your Akashic filters. Now, some of you will still have dreams, and you'll say, when can I get rid of those? That's coming from your subconscious, dear ones. That's your duality trying to get to you. That is your choice, and always has been. You have the knowledge of dark and light, and which one you choose and which one you work with doesn't have anything to do with your Akash. But there is so much that you are based upon who you were. I'm telling you, you're going to be able to clean up your act. When you get rid of the inappropriate things that are coming to you from past lives. Akashic filtering. Oh, Kryon, how do I do it? Where do I go? Where do I start? And the answer is yes. Number one, it always is, do you believe it? Number two, if you believe it, you can change it. It becomes cognized as your reality. Then you start working with it. The same way you mine your Akash, you use Akashic filtering. You start speaking to your own body as though it were a friend, because it is, working better than it ever has before, because it is, more aware, because it is, cells that are listening, because they are. Your Akash is a multidimensional part of your own DNA. Build your affirmations and say them when you want to. And the affirmations are you speaking to you. And you can just say it, Dear Akash, I now have the power through wisdom and ascension over what bothers us and what does not. Use the word us, not you, not them. we are now going to filter our Akash. Give me the things that I need to know, and dismiss the things that I don't. Instead of a steady series of uncontrollable thoughts and feelings and energies that come at you and disturb you in ways that shape your life, you now have control. Now, just like everything else, it's new. You may not know how to work with it right away. Some of you are able, some of you are not able, because your paths are unique. There are old souls in this room who will walk out of there different and apply this instantly and have results. And there are others of you who are coming online, very old souls, but just learning the process, the feelings, the belief. And it will take longer. Don't beat yourself up if you don't get instant results. Oh, how human of you. Give it time. The wisdom of the ancients all had something in common. They looked at time differently. Didn't have any of the modern things you have today. If they wanted to communicate to a friend in another part of the country, they would write a note in their own way, and they'd get a reply in several months. What a system. And they loved it. They understood that quality takes time. This is the ancients. It's in you too. For you are your own ancients. Is it not time to not just filter your Akash, but perhaps even do something proactive? Call upon the things that you need to know, that stood out because they were positive, because they saved your lives, because they gave you peace and comfort, and they were of God. This is the message for this evening. Spiritual ascension and wisdom is just beginning on the planet. The old souls get it first. They teach the others. It is the beginning. It will take some time. But this is the first time we gave you this information. Waiting for this group. Waiting for this time and this place. Think of it. Things are not always as you believe they are. We weep with joy that you've reached this point where finally we can start giving you some seeds of truth that are going to make a difference in your life. Go from this place changed. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. We've spoken to you so many times about the beauty of who you are. And we've said to those who sit in front of me in person, to those listening later, that inside of you, at a level that is multidimensional, which you cannot even fathom, is the actual creator of all things. The biology you carry, that you call yourself, is temporary. This day, my partner brought you a concept on purpose that would help you to understand more about the reality of the fact that reincarnation is the way of it. The word is not necessarily the word we would use. We would say life expression. When your soul would come back and inhabit that which is another human being's body that you continue with as your soul. And so there is something here to look at. It's beautiful. What did you think when you saw the proof that was given today that the potential of coming again is real? So now it's time to start connecting the dots, because there is a responsibility that starts to come with the elegance of your maturing soul. I'm going to call this channel Soul Stewardship. You've got to start understanding and cognizing the truth of the fact that you're ancient. Question. For you to use spiritual logic. If you come back again, and you're a human again, is it an accident? The answer you would give is it's obviously not an accident. It's the way things work. Next question. If it's the way things work, there has to be a working plan. Would you agree? If there is a working plan, then you have to ask, who is working the plan? Where did it come from? Is it this way by accident? No, it's this way because it's planned. If there is a plan, what kind of a plan is it? And the answer is a benevolent one. One that knows who you are. The thing that we have approached before that is so difficult for you. A question was asked this very day that my partner could not answer, and so I will. What is the distance of time from the death of the human being that has your soul to the time when you will come back and inhabit yet another body with the same soul? What's the distance of time in reincarnation? And this is where it gets good. Dear ones, there is no rule that says you have to stay away. There's no rule that says you have to come back at a certain time, a certain place. There are no parameters that are spiritual that says there's got to be a rest period. That's funny. Instead, you wait for your karmic group to have the right time and the right place so you'll be back in a benevolent way and do what you came to do. And sometimes that means that if you left too soon, the group has to grow up and you'll come back later. Sometimes those in the group have to pass away and reincarnate so you can reincarnate with them. Your time frame, therefore, is dependent upon what happens on the planet, not on rules. Now, I want you to analyze this for a moment, because this is a benevolent plan. It is not one that adheres to certain kind of spiritual doctrine that says this must be and this must be. It is one that celebrates the soul's returning to the planet. Now this is all starting to shift. It's all starting to change. The shift that we have talked about, that my partner teaches, is real. I am here, talking to you in this way, in this channeling way, because of the shift. There would be no Kryon if you didn't make it. And yet I came in 26 years ago, before the potential. And the reason for this is we could see the wild cards in progress. Those who will notice that I showed up just about the time that the largest wild card occurred. And that is the fall of the Soviet Union. That really took the energy out of World War III. There are still those, even after it didn't happen, that are trying to rekindle the idea of another war. So invested in an old energy that for eons ramped itself up to go to a certain ignite point. And it's something that they say has to happen. And yet it didn't. Dear ones, the shift is real. And with the shift comes many things that my partner has discussed, but not this one. Soul stewardship. For the first time, dear ones, you start to cognize, to understand the system. I would like to explain something to you. An old system of unawareness has you reborn into the planet to start over. The only things that you bring in akashically are slight remembrances that will trigger certain actions or make you fear or perhaps make you successful. So they are energetic in the fact that you remember that which you did. And it either helps or hinders, but it's a lesson. In that old energy, you literally will start again, make all the mistakes again, until you come to the end of your life. And if you're metaphysical, you'll say what you're saying today. This is my last time, you will say. And of course it won't be. But you're tired, because you had to go through it yet again. Dear ones, the shift has changed it all. The very paradigm of soul return is going to carry different attributes. Don't be shocked when I tell you that these attributes are going to be greater awareness, more benevolence, a more mature and elegant countenance. Listen to this. We've said this before, but it's time you really understood it. Karma is no longer needed. It worked in the past, but it is a blind energy of unfinished business. It's not elegant. It simply pushes and pulls. It is responsible for so many things that you see, perhaps you didn't even understand. Why would you have families of generations of firemen, of policemen? Because they have done it, they've come in again, the karma is to continue it. They know it so well that they fit into the groove. Their parents did it, they'll do it, their sons will do it. This is karma. Other kinds of karma is blind energy that will push and pull unfinished business, where you'll go someplace and do something to accomplish a goal. A goal that seems to be something you must do. You're driven and nobody can figure out why. Or to make things right. Or to do something that is something you tried and failed in a past life, and here you come to do it again and make it work. That's karma. And we told you, you don't need it. 26 years ago, the first communication, we said, this is an old energy system, and you no longer need it. We said instead there's going to be a more elegant system of remembrance. Instead of a blind system of energy, there's going to be a wonderful, elegant system of remembrance. Let me tell you about what happens to every old soul that is listening to this and in this room. All of you. My partners included. All of you. There come a time when you will leave this planet appropriately. And when you do, the time of return will completely be dependent on those things around you and those that you have chosen to be with the next time. And when you arrive, dear ones, literally, at the birth canal, the first breath, there is going to be a feeling in every cell that says, I'm back. And when you are old enough to cognize yourself, to see who you are and start realizing what is at hand, you're going to start remembering things from the past. Not things that are chapter and verse, but wisdom. Dear ones, when you grow up, If you burn your hand as a child, you will never go to that stove again. All through your life, to your dying day, you learned a lesson. And it goes right into the neural pathways and etches a pattern that says, danger, I'm not going to do this. In an older system, before the shift, when you were reborn, you had to do it again. And you put your hand on the stove again. Now you don't. You come in with the knowledge of what works and what does not work. Let me be clear. I'll say it again. The mistakes you made this time around, you will not make the next time. There will be an intuitive, innate sense of how to make things work and where to go. Because in this new energy, you awaken to a soul inside your body which is far more alert, knows its back, and even though you cannot verbalize that, you have the sense of what is correct and not correct. And it's everywhere. It is in all parts of your life. It is in relationships. It is in business. And you'll feel an appropriateness or a non-appropriateness. You will be joined by other old souls slowly who feel the same thing. There'll come time when a population starts to grow in this manner because of the shift. They may not be spiritual. It doesn't matter. Because they are starting to awaken and remember what works and what doesn't. And that is why I will tell you again that after this shift, the generations to come will not create war. Because they know what doesn't work. Up to this point, every time you came in, you started over. History repeated itself because the generations didn't learn anything. Not really. You're never old enough. You die too soon. If you had lasted 200 years, you'd have known better. You would have seen it. You would have remembered it. But you don't. And therefore, one generation comes in without the knowledge of the wisdom of the last and repeats that which you did before. That is all stopping now. Old souls who return are going to start feeling a responsibility for stewarding their soul. Now here's where it gets good. I told you that in the cave of creation, you pick up the information that you had before that was Akashic, and then you come in again and you continue. What I didn't tell you was this: that all the things you do on this planet have a cumulative effect on the planet. Every lifetime you'll have from now on, because of this new responsibility, will go back into the cave of creation when you leave and be picked up when you come back, and all of it affects the crystalline grid. If you are wise enough to start stewarding that which is your higher self, your soul, you'll start understanding that what you do stays, goes into the planet, becomes part of all things. An individual who stewards their soul now and later, this will be the intuitive part of the new human. The new human will recognize there is a plan of return. Will recognize that a return means you pick it up and you go from there. Compassion has always been the key. A more elegant kind of living is one where you start etching new patterns, not only for your lives to come, but thought for your children. For they start to pick up the patterns that you show. You know this. This gets right down to how you live. And we say it again to all of you. Right now, how do you feel about others around you in this society? Common things. How do you feel? In a very linear way, you go to a very high-quality restaurant, you dress up. You know that it's going to probably be costly, but you're ready for it because you're there. And in comes a server. I want to ask you, who are they to you? When you look at them, first glance, old soul, oh elevated one, who are they? There'll be some who will say, well, the scenario today is I am important and they are serving me. And so I will treat them accordingly. They're the servers, I'm the servee. This is the energy you were taught. This is the energy that prevails in a linear fashion. This is what is expected, even by the one who is serving. But an elegant old soul who knows how things work and is stewarding the soul emotion, that which gets etched into the crystal, into the planet, will see that server just like them. And the server has the peace of God which is just as beautiful as yours. And there is no separation, even for the elegance of the dinner or the cost of it. The server then becomes part of the family. You can even imagine the server sitting down at the table and enjoying the meal with you. This is a minor example of what we're speaking of. How you see others, forgetting the scenario completely of status, of gender, of age, where you can look at every single human and see that they're stewarding their soul too. And together you see the commonality of the love of God in each. I'll tell you something you'll think will be funny, but if you do this, your meal will taste better. This is the way of it. It is a new paradigm for humanity that is going to start to occur naturally, especially to the old souls who return and remember what doesn't work and what does. And the key has always been, can you see God in others, no matter what they're doing with you? It goes in reverse. How many times have you had somebody in authority over you who was an absolute fool? And you can say, that's normal. What if it is normal? Can you see the God in them? Can you bless them in their foolishness? Can you smile anyway? Can you see a bigger picture of what all are learning and yet do your job in a way that honors them, even in their foolishness? Without spite, without anger. I'm talking to somebody who needs to hear this. In relationships that don't work, and sometimes you feel are endless and you're stuck there, I will tell you, what changes that is when you start to see the God in the other one, if you can. And you start relaxing and you act differently, they will too. Because there is a benevolence in the system that asks for and will create harmony if you take the first step. This is new. In a lighter earth, one that has more potential, more energetic light than any other time, you're going to see more benevolence. You're going to see systems that work better if you will allow it and steward your soul. Because what you do from now on sticks in a way that never has before. The alliance you have with Gaia is closer than ever before. Believe me, you're going to pick up what you reap the next time around and the next time. And you'll know it. And that is why, dear one, the entire persona of human nature, the attributes that you think are human nature, are going to begin to shift. It's going to happen worldwide. It doesn't matter if you're spiritual or not. Wisdom is wisdom. Light and dark are the same for all. And when you arrive in a brighter, lighter earth and take on more wisdom, even if you're not spiritual, some things will start occurring to you that are very mature. Some are already seeing it in their children in a very minor way. They are different because they sense a feeling of knowing what works and doesn't. We have talked about this before. So stand by, because you will someday be one of those children who will then fight the society in your wisdom and your ways. But you won't be alone. Because more and more old souls will have this, the feeling that there is more, that you're responsible for something grander than yourself, the whole planet. And you will start stewarding your soul. This is the message of the day. It's a beautiful one. You see, there is a system. And the system is one that loves you. The human that you are is blind on purpose to the things around you which are grander than you. That is also part of the system, so that you will have real free choice. Not a choice that is battered by karma, but a choice to move in the direction that you feel is correct, based upon the wisdom you have as you walk on the planet. And that, my friends, is going to make a big difference. Some of you are already starting to feel these shifts and these changes. As I leave, I say, I want you to know that you are eternal. The death has no sting. You're always going to be back. You wouldn't miss the party. But this time, the party will be grander, because you'll remember what to do and what not to do. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. So often in these meetings, the end of the day is a channeling that is personal. It's often more for those in the group here live than anyone who might be listening. Indeed, those who listen will glean the energy, perhaps. Maybe there'll be some information that is new to them. I am so aware, dear ones, of who is here. Spirit knows who's listening, no matter when they listen. A year from now, 2 years, there is a potential of who is listening. Even now, I can tell you. It's in the future, but the potential is there, and Spirit knows the time is in this beautiful circle. But even though there is that, I want to speak to you here before me. Humans all. I have never been a human. There is enamorment, if you can call that, from this angelic source. Not just the love. I know how you tick. I know how you work. I know what you think. And that is why I'm here. To try to soothe the soul who wants to make up things, who wants to get involved perhaps in the dramas that are not even there. In order to help you across this beautiful time passage of the old energy to the new. My partner asked the question when he was fully aware that he would be channeling for the rest of his life. He asked me the question, why now? He said, why at this age? And I told him then there was no age. And it was the beginning of his teaching and his learning about his own body, and about something that lurked within it, which is not understood but used so much by those who are sitting in the chairs. We have defined it in so many ways. We have put it in ways that split it apart and put it back together. We've given it numbers of names, but the one you know is innate. We've defined where it goes in the scheme of the 9. We've told you where it goes in the scheme of the 3. Innate is so special for you. And innate is something that responds to consciousness. Let's start at the beginning. Every single human has an esoteric body that is called the innate. Would you say it was biological? It is linked to your biology, so much so that you call it the smart body. Is it linked to spirit? Yes. It is linked to that which is your higher self and also to the biology of your higher self, the pineal. Is it part of your heart and brain? Absolutely. Does it govern things? No. What it does is communicate. And so the innate is the great communicator of your body. It helps give you information and it also receives it. The body itself has its own healing mechanism. We've told you about the health template. We've told you about the genesis cells. We've given you information that the body stands ready to take information in through the innate. And then the innate communicates to the cells. The cells are always listening, and consciousness is the overview of all of it. Now, why I'm giving you this, which is a review, is because I would like to describe something that some of you are already doing. But it's so beautiful. It's an enhanced tool. In this age, dear ones, I'm going to give you information of an enhanced tool that you can use with innate. Some of you, as I say, will simply hear the definition of what you've already been doing. And for some of you, you need to hear this. And so you have the human body with this wonderful esoteric body called innate. Some would ask it, where is it? And the answer is everywhere. Is it the Merkaba of the body? No, but it is linked to it. So that smart body, which is the innate, is part of the bridge, you might say, between the 3D and the multi-D. It is that part of the body that communicates with all of the cells at once, if needed. It's the part of the body, literally, that can receive from you the profound consciousness and transform it to spontaneous remission. That is the innate. It's that part of the body that you can muscle test. It's the smart part. It's the smart part that responds to the tapping. It's the smart part that responds to that which is being interviewed by another human. Innate. Now I have a question for you. And it is a question that may be esoteric, but it has a very, very easy answer. The human being, biologically, may be out of balance. Perhaps that even creates a mental problem. Perhaps the human is in psychosis. Perhaps the human is so far out of balance that they've had to seek a healer of some kind. And there they lay on the table. Question: is the innate also unbalanced? The answer, as you very well know, is it's always balanced. The innate is connected to source. So it doesn't matter how out of balance the human being is. Innate is always pure, always ready. This is the reason, dear ones, affirmations work. For even if you are seeking balance and don't have it in some part of your body or your psyche or your consciousness, the secret to balance has always been the fact that you have something in you which is always balanced. And that is listening, and will bring you back into that place, whether it's health or mental or consciousness or fear. Now you know that when you open the meditation that you do, or you speak to God, you're dealing with another part of you which is always balanced, which is connected to Source and the higher self and the pineal and ready to go. This is the most beautiful engine of the human being that exists in you, because it is always balanced and always ready. There's two bridges. One is you to innate, and the other one is innate to spirit. Innate to spirit is always controlled by the energy of the planet. Did you get that? So if the planet is in a low state of energy, there's a veil. And as good as it wants to, innate can only go through that veil to the degree that you will allow it through the consciousness of the planet. That is shifting. So right away, I am telling you that the innate is able to cross that bridge through the pineal and the higher self to talk to spirit and get that which is what you deserve based upon the peace of God in you. The veil, as defined, is lifting slightly. It requires you, however, to cross the other bridge. And that's the one from you to innate. That's the hardest one. We've spoken of it before. It requires that you cognize the system. Simpler words. It requires you believe it. And that is difficult because that has not necessarily been taught in this particular way. How many times have you heard, in order to get to God, you've got to suffer a little? You just broke the bridge. How many times have you been told that you better get on your knees because God is up there and you're down here and you're not worthy? Well, if you believed it, you just broke the bridge. The bridge expects you to understand there is magnificence here. To raise up out of your seat, to be proud enough to say, "Dear innate," and then state who you are. Give the affirmations, knowing that you're worthy, because you have inside you God. The energy of what you would say is the Christ itself is in you. This is taught here. It's written on the walls here. And maybe that's why you're here this day. To know that God dwells in you to such a degree that the bridges can be built so easily. But that's not what I want to tell you. Question: if a human is out of balance, is innate out of balance? No, innate is perfect. Innate is pure. And so item number one, You can heal yourself through innate. But this is the question that has been on the minds of healers for so long. And the question is that if your innate is in balance, can you somehow transfer that to an unbalanced human being? It's well known that it is difficult for any human to muscle test someone else with their muscles. Can you muscle test with your innate someone else? The jury is still out because you're not really asking the right question. Let me tell you something that healers know. There's some of you, no matter what profession you say you're in, who are soul communicators. You'll step into the room before the patient opens their mouth. You know what's wrong. Medical intuitives can look at a human being and know what's wrong. By the way, they also can see what's right because they see a picture. The picture is not in 3D or 2D or even 4D. It is something that is perceived by their innate. So suddenly I'm telling you something that you already know, but that I've just given you the process. Your innate can sense someone else's innate and give you information about it. Now that's called a gift. But what if this gift were starting to expand? What if it was expanding to the degree that it starts to involve your intuition? So that you could literally stand in front of somebody else and know what they're thinking, or what their unbalance is, or what to say to them to give them peace. This is an expanded gift of healing, but it goes beyond that. What I'm telling you is this, is that your innates are starting to overlap because you're allowing it through a higher consciousness, and the timing of this shift is starting to give you an enhanced ability to do this. I have just given you the secret of an enhanced, evolved human being and why you will never go to war someday. Because you will be expanding this so that you'll feel the other people, and so you will have the compassion to know what they're going through and what they're like. Instead of an old way of wondering, of trying and tricking, or surrounding yourself and competing. What if there comes a time when compassion is something the whole group feels for one another instantly just because you're together? Ask a healer in this room, is it possible that you can sense what's wrong and what's right with the patient? And they'll say, yes, I do it all the time. Now extend that. Make the field bigger. If you don't think you've had the gift, I will tell you it's sitting there waiting for you to cross the bridge. And you'll say, well, I'm not a healer. Dear ones, what I am saying to you is, wouldn't it be nice to feel what the other person next to you is about, so that you can give them the right information, so you can give them the right emotions, so you can create coherence together. You're not muscle testing your innate for someone else. You're actually combining the fields of two innates so that you can sense what they sense, but so that they can also sense the balance you have. It helps the healer to know where to go, what to touch, what to say. It helps the medical intuitive to identify and help heal. What if it stopped being an extraordinary gift and instead became common? It's happening. Healers in the room are going to hear it in a way they've never done before. They're going to have an enhanced feeling of their senses. They'll be able to know things that they haven't known before because the senses that they didn't think were involved suddenly are. Some will smell it. This is an enhancement of a human being who will start to evolve with everything you have. But the best one that's coming is the combining of innates in such a way that there is understanding and communication and compassion between souls. Do you think that would help you in the workplace? Oh, yes. Do you think it would help you understand your boss? Not just understand, but be compassionate. In order to give that boss balance, understanding, productivity, because of that. Do you think it might help you with your children? Oh, I have something to tell you about your children. They already have it. That is why some adults don't want to be with certain young people at a certain age. Did you know that? Because those young people look right through you. You know what they're thinking. You're exposed. They already know. Some of you have experienced this. It's an uncomfortable feeling, isn't it? That's what I'm talking about. But they're not looking at you in judgment. They're looking at the compassion factor. Do you think it could help you in relationships with your partner? I know who's here. Listen. Do you think you have a partner you've distanced yourself so far from that there's no hope? I know who's here. Listen, I know who's here. I want to tell you that spark of compassion is still there. It still is there. To be able to combine that, if you choose to, with understanding and peace, it's like reaching out and holding their hand for the first time. Because that's pure. And that's possible. It's new. It's part of the evolution of humankind. I have seen this before. Dear ones, there have those who have had a question that really hasn't been asked. Kryon, were you with the Pleiadians when they went through this? Was there a Kryon channel for the Pleiadians? Yes. Yes. And yes. Wasn't called Kryon because they didn't speak your language. Difficult to pronounce because they had vocal cords that were different, split into two, making double sounds in speech at the same time. But dear ones, I was there and I watched what you are going through today back then. Did the planet that seeded them go through it? Yes. Was there a Kryon? Yes. What I'm telling you is this. This is beautiful. There is precedent. It's not new. I have seen it. All of you have free choice. And the free choice just tempers whether you believe in the bridge, whether you'll use the bridge, or how quickly you'll understand the bridge. But the bridge is there. It's there to be crossed, just like for all of those races on the other planets before you. Biology, a little different. Humanoid, yes. But dear ones, the innate was the same because it's connected to spirit. God is God. And they had the same God that you have. That's why their graduate planet was so beautiful, because it exemplified that love that you feel right now. The seed that was put into you by the Pleiadians to give you 23 three-dimensional pairs of chromosomes and one multi-dimensional pair, number 24, is the Pleiadian. And that is the same God that created this planet. Is in them, is in you. And the one that helped create this beautiful ground and the village that you're in. I've seen this before. And all I'm telling you is this is the beginning for old souls of a new time. Question, is it too new for you? Will you cross the bridge? Will you wait till you come back when it's easier? Or will you take the gauntlet that I've thrown down to you and said, what is age? Do you have any idea how your body is designed? If you had an idea, it's not designed to age. Are you aware of that? It rejuvenates itself. That's not a body designed to age. And the only thing that ages you is that DNA, which is only working at about 33 to 34%, that makes the replication of your cells less than it should be, where the telomeres start to shorten instead of staying the same length. That is changeable with the bridge. You cross the bridge, you start talking to innate, you give it instructions, stop aging. And you can watch it in the mirror. You can watch your friends who don't have this information that you wish did and won't have it. They will age much faster than you. I throw down the gauntlet and say, do it and see if I'm right. Can you slow down the body clock? Yes. Hundreds of years. Your body is designed to last hundreds of years. That's the plan. When you start aging less as a civilization, you'll have all kinds of medical journals. Be front page. What's happening to humanity? Why is it that you're living so much longer with so fewer drugs? And that magazine cover is coming. It takes a while. Your body is so ready for you, for a consciousness that is grown up. It's time for the grown up to come out of there and talk to the bridge and say, I know you. Let's get going. I sit in a magnificent place designed for channelers, designed for listeners, in a chapel that was built for prayer, for an age that the creators actually saw coming. And so it is.
Hello, I'm Lee Carroll.
As we prepare to go into a channel with Lee, let us step our intellect aside, put it in the back seat, and instead connect in to your heart. You may even place your hand on your heart so you connect in with the innate wisdom and intelligence of your heart. Ask your heart's wisdom to come closer into your triad of your brain, pineal, and heart. And with that connection, that is where you receive intuitive guidance. And that is where you can discern what's coming in from your intuition and receive whatever message you need to receive. And let us together create a collective group where we will hear a message from Kryon that's addressing this particular collective group of souls that are now gathered. Kryon doesn't deliver messages just in the air to no one. Kryon delivers messages to the collective group that is gathered to listen and hear. That is how special you are, individually and collectively, as we come together in a soup of oneness to receive this message.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I will say yet again, and many times I will repeat, Spirit is not in a vacuum. This is probably the best news I could ever say to those of you who are here. For sometimes the training says differently, that God is on a pedestal, and that God does not really know what is going on necessarily in the minutiae of your life. It is just the opposite, dear ones. On the other side of the veil, that creative source knows you, knows your name. It's even been said in certain scriptures that Spirit knows every hair on your head. That is a metaphor that just says you are known by God, not just your name, but as perhaps you would know your children. A child of God, some have said, it is like that. That is the love that is here for you. A little later, when we get into that which is the circle of 12, and we walk you yet again through that meditation and through all of the metaphors and guide you into another kind of reality, this is what we teach. It is a time to understand the closeness you have to Spirit, closer than you thought. Healing is the subject, and we have told you that healing can be many things. Indeed, you don't have to be diseased to sit in these places and ask for healing. The kinds of healing that we speak of go far, far beyond even the corporeal. The healing of memories, the healing of anxiety, fear. All of these things are dysfunctions that you might have as you would come here to this safe place and want to just sit with us for a while. And indeed, we see you there. It is an interesting kind of puzzle that I will say to you again. I know what's happening, and the puzzle that is interesting to you is that the areas of energy that we speak about are multi-dimensional areas. They are not that which you have in 3D. Distance does not matter. Time doesn't matter. I speak now perhaps to those who might be listening later. And to those I say, it is no different now to later. For I know who's listening later. This is the beauty of a God that can see all and know all. I am part of that collective, dear ones, from the other side of the veil. I have never been human. My partner knows this and sees things, even as I speak to him, that you don't get to see. Sometimes there's a majesty that he can't even describe. That the love that we have for you, it goes beyond time. So when you are listening to this now, and that is you call live, it may be one thing. You may listen to it again. Others may come and listen to it at another time or place. The recording, that is the sound, may be that which someone is listening to a year from now. But I'm speaking to you now. The now is therefore defined as you and I looking at each other right now. Now, no matter when your clock says now is. Did you get that? This is the beauty of a multidimensional creative source, known by God no matter what time it is in your life or whenever you receive the message. Healing, dear ones, is very similar to this. And it's simply the most unsimple thing you can imagine. It's complex. Too complex even for this discussion right now. Way too complex. But I will give a hint of what I want to tell you here. There are puzzles in healing, are there not? Let me speak to the healer who is here, listening, watching. Isn't it interesting that you can develop a very powerful protocol that is a healing protocol? One that you have used and developed and seen happen. You've seen miracles, either in your chairs or on your tables or even long distance, haven't you? You've seen those who have come to receive certain kinds of things from you, and you actually have delivered that with the modalities that you've had, that you've intuited, that you're using. That is what healers do. And isn't it interesting that even though you will do the same kinds of things to every single human being as they need them, as you intuit them, some of them will instantly heal and some of them will never heal. You know I'm right. Isn't it interesting that there's such a variety of differences even within your own patients? How does that work? Well, every single healer knows this because they've seen it over and over. And if they are wise, and most are, they will ask their patients or their friends or whoever it is that they're working with to first give permission to heal. In other words, there is something there, dear ones, that requires you give either intent or awareness to the healing that is going to occur. This is why, dear ones, you can pray and pray and pray and pray for an individual or a group or whatever, and there's no change. But if that individual or group knows that you are praying for them, or believes that prayer answers are there, and believes that the healing modality really does work, they have given permission and cognized that which can occur. And then the healing starts. And sometimes it's a low-level healing, and they come back and get more and more. Sometimes it's spontaneous remission. But it takes at least the awareness that you're doing it with them for a full event of healing to happen. This also explains why some will say to you, my brother is in trouble. My brother does not believe in prayer. My brother doesn't believe in any of these things. My brother is in trouble. Can I heal him? And the answer is often, you can try if you wish, but you're going to have to get your brother's awareness on board in order to have the connection that is needed. You might even say, and you'd be accurate, again, there is a key and a lock that has to be inserted and turned. And that key is that the one who is being healed has to want it, understand that you are indeed attempting it, even though they don't understand the modality. There has to be some belief. Prayer works so well, especially when those who are being prayed for stop for a moment, perhaps even at a certain hour, and say, I receive the prayers that you have. I believe they're powerful, and I'm willing to be healed. And it can be across the world. It can be on the telephone. It can be just not on the telephone or anything. You can just have an agreement that at a certain time, even if it's not a time of day, it can be a specific day where you say, I'm aware that this day, that there are those praying for me, and I'm going to sit and receive those prayers. Do you see this connection? It's more than just an awareness. It's really cognizing that you can receive healing. That is the difference. Now, back to the healer who has no result, perhaps on the table, even though it appears their patient gave permission, they really have not. They really haven't. At some level, they have a disbelief that keeps that out. The key never gets into the lock. Even though they are saying things, it doesn't fit. This is what makes it complex. How can you get past this? How can you say yes? How is it possible that you can peel that onion of disbelief and be in a place where you're so open that prayer is going to work instantly? What about you with you? What about your ability to go to a place where there is no healer and have that same energy come at you and work? Welcome to the Circle of 12. This is what we're doing. The key goes in the lock when you start to cross that bridge that I'm going to tell you about in just a little while, that we cross every single time. Complex it is, healing is this way. And perhaps the more that you hear and the more you're able to do with it, the easier it'll be to cognize the fact that you can do anything. Anything.